Ha! He went into the house. Now I don't have to give him peace of my mind. You know I love you, Dick. That's... All right, so we're seeing that Dick has... Hey, Dick, how many of the books on that bookshelf are actually written by you?
About half of them.
About half. All right, here we go.
Do you want me to repeat what I was saying earlier?
Yeah, the only thing is we need his volume up a little bit.
Yeah, let's bump him up.
Give us a second, Dick. Dick, give me another 10 count.
Well, since you can only hear every other word, 2, 4, 6, 10.
Why? He's still not strong.
Hello? The volume good?
No, we're still getting a real
Let's
weak
take him up
signal.
on our end.
This is, you know what? This is where I think you should turn off the computer and start again.
Okay.
Tim, is he all the way up?
Hold on. Don't hang up yet, Dick.
Let's turn it up.
But where's his volume right now? It's all the way up. Just give me a 5 count again, Dick.
1, 2, 3, 5.
Yeah, see, we didn't hear 4. We didn't hear 3 and 4, right?
Okay.
Dick, is that usually where you are right now? Is that usually a strong spot? Because that's not where...
Fine.
Yeah?
Usually it's fine.
Where's the pink chair, pal? Where's the pink chair room?
That's in Florida.
Because that was always strong.
Right.
All right. Maybe we do it one more time, Dick. Why don't you turn off the computer, start it back up again? Maybe that's what it is, because it hasn't improved any.
Well, let me, in fact, go to the chair.
Okay, go ahead. He'll go to the pink chair. All right, and we'll tell the story of the pink chair.
Okay.
All right, so wait, he's taking us, this is new.
Yeah.
He's actually taking us up the stairs.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the deal on the pink chair thing. All right, and again, we apologize for this. This is why when I had, Harlan will remember this, when I had, and Dick will remember it as well, Dick can hear me as he's climbing up the stairs right now. My rule was, I'm back on Newsmax, no Skype.
No Skype.
Yeah, and it would drive the producers, it would drive Newsmax, it would drive people crazy. And it would drive guests crazy too, because I had the #1 show by not even a close #2.
Sure.
And I said, no, you can't come on the show if you don't do Skype, because it's crap.
Yeah.
It's crap. But Dick had a pretty good Skype, and so that's why I used to give in.
His video is very good. It's
Plus, he also, so what he's doing right now is he's going upstairs to his pink chair.
It's infamous.
Yeah, the pink chair. I mean, it looks like a thing. What was that? What's that? What's that? Is that SpongeBob?
There it is.
There is that the pink chair? He's got the pink
chair
chair and the pink pillow.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to make him wear a pink chair, wear a pink tie in the pink chair. And he used to do it for me every time, and I told him if I ever saw him wear the pink tie on somebody else's show, he wouldn't be allowed to be on. And because he's a good guy, he always kept to his word, and only I got the pink tie and the pink chair. Yeah, what the hell is the cartoon with the big pink chair? I can't remember what it is.
I don't know.
All right, hopefully this works.
All right, we'll see.
Count it up, Dick.
As long as it's not the Pink Panther.
No, it's not the Pink Panther.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, it's so bad. Should we have him turn off and start up again?
Let's try that.
Hey, Dick, just make sure, I want you to turn off and start up again, but before you do that, I want you to make sure you have all your other programs closed out on your computer.
Okay, try it now.
Oh, much better.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
That's better. Whatever you did, that worked.
Good.
All right, so let's go. Yeah, there it is. So wait, Victoria said Blue's Clues. There was they had Blue's Clues. I used to have to always give that to my kids. Blue's Clues, Blue's Clues. All right, so anyway, Dick, from your Blue's Clues, red chair, orange chair, pink chair, whichever one it looks on to somebody's computer, give us a clue, a blue clue, about what it is that is going on right now in the White House with President Trump. What's he saying? What's he telling Tillerson? What's going on there?
Well, I think you have two different levels going on. The formal level with the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor and the Joint Chiefs are meeting with the President to assess the situation. And I think that's going as normal. But then there's also what's called the kitchen cabinet. Steve Bannon, Jared Kushner, the woman Kellyanne Conway, and the three of them are probably meeting with Trump fairly continuously to talk about the politics of it. And I think the thing that we're missing here is this is the ultimate wag the dog. I think that Trump was sincerely trying to knock out their chemical facilities. I think Trump was sincerely angry about the attack. But I think the other point is that for a year, the Democrats and liberals have been peddling this ridiculous narrative that Trump is in Putin's pocket and the deal was cut and he would let Putin run all over the world as long as Putin arranged for him to be elected president. And both sides of that are crazy. Putin had very little to do with his election, and Trump, I'm sure, promised nothing. And now with those bombs, Trump is proving that is false. And I think that narrative is very important to Trump, but I think you can't dismiss it as one of the reasons for the attack.
When you look at North Korea, just to change gears for 1 second, when you look at North Korea, right now we have naval ships headed that way because there is a concern that on the 15th, North Korea will start to test more missiles. Explain to us, Dick, the level of concern that North Korea presents for the United States.
It's an intense concern, Dennis, because not so much because of their intercontinental missiles. Those are burning, and it'll be a while before they have enough of them to make a difference or to be sure of their accuracy. But a good artillery cannon can shoot a nuclear missile into Seoul from North Korean territory. Seoul is right abuts the border between North and South Korea. And Seoul has a extended population, I think, of over 10 million people. And that would be just a fiasco. And that really is the blackmail that the North Korean leadership has.
So, you know, a lot of people listening this morning to different programs as I'm coming into work, Dick, there are a lot of Trump supporters who say, I didn't sign up for this. You know, you told me we weren't going to go into these places. It was supposed to be America first. And they're concerned. I mean, if you take North Korea, whether you take Syria, I mean, you could go back to Syria if you like, because I think it's a better example. But they say, I'm looking at Syria and about this need to get out Assad, and I feel like we're back in Iraq all over again, like we tried to get out Saddam Hussein. And look what happened there. Yeah, okay, we took him out, but Iraq toppled, and ISIS, you know, now we have ISIS. If we take out Assad, who's going to take over that place? And then you have the other people, like myself, who say, you know what, America needs to be back. America needs to show its leadership. America needs to show its strength, because I believe in the Reagan way of, you know, strength through power, and through, you know, to a certain degree, you know, making sure that people respect us and don't screw around with us. Dick, I want you to respond to that two ways. How would you respond to the Trump supporters on both cases? And number two is, if you were sitting in that White House right now with President Trump, what would you be advising him?
Well, I think that the Trump supporters were concerned about our going abroad and trying to run the world. John Quincy Adams once said, we don't go abroad in search of dragons to destroy. And I think that that's a very good policy. And I think it's very important that Trump keep these attacks in Syria on punishing them and deterring them and preventing them, if possible, from using chemical weapons, rather than an effort at regime change to get rid of Assad. It's a touchy line, but we have to stay well side of our line. And for example, we did not do a decapitation strike. There was no attempt to kill Assad in that strike. And if we had wanted regime change, that would be something we would do. Now, in terms of Syria, I think it's a non-issue. You just don't go in there. You just go in there when you need to over gas weapons, and you let the war unfold, and you have your military go after ISIS, which is a discrete target. But I think that in North Korea, there is clear action called. The key to stopping North Korea is not to stop them from getting the bomb. They have it. But to stop them that can deliver the bomb. And that involves the anti-missile system that the United States has deployed and needs to continue to deploy, the Aegis missiles. Now, some of our Aegis missiles are ground-based, and that's useless against Korea because they're mainly aimed at Russia. But many of them are sea-based, and that's why McMaster sent another aircraft carrier into the region, because they can sit there off the coast and shoot the missiles down when they get launched. But the ultimate answer is to develop a space-based missile intercepting capability, very much like the Star Wars that Reagan proposed. It's 40 years later in terms of the technology, and you can do it now. And you don't have to intercept 12,000 Korean missiles. They don't have that many. They might 5 or 10 now and in a few years. So the idea is that you sit up there in outer space looking down at North Korea. And when you see a missile launch, a flash on the screen, you shoot a laser right at it. And the missile at that point is going 100 miles an hour. It's not in its launch. Mm-hmm. It's just into its launch trajectory. And you can kill it pretty easily. And the debris falls on North Korea, not on the nation it's trying to attack. And I think the United States should move aggressively on space-based missiles. Mm-hmm. Now, Reagan had pushed that. And then the Democrats opposed it, knee-jerk, reflexive, because they're opposed to defensive weapons, and they said it was destabilizing in the Cold War. Those arguments are dusty. They're not relevant. Mm-hmm. Recently, the United Nations passed a convention in which they urged all nations to avoid littering outer space by putting anti-missile stuff in outer space.
Yeah, but Dick, if I were to bring this down a little bit to earth right now, in the sense that President Trump took this, if you want to call it the 59 missile attack on Syria the way he did, and like you said, it wasn't an attempt to change regimes. It was an attempt to send a message and say stop doing this. Is it worthy to try that again in North Korea if he does turn around and launch out some ballistic missiles on Saturday?
No, I think that's too risky, because he'll still have a few, and he could then retaliate, and you have a nuclear war on your hands. I think what we should do is Trump should announce a vigorous beefing up of our anti-missile capability, a space-based anti-missile capability, and that will have the effect within a few months of nullifying the North Korean threat completely. We already have it partially nullified by the sea-based interceptors that he's moving into the region.
Is there anything that we can do? Could we put pressure on China?
Well, what I suspect is going on, Dennis, is I think China ginned up North Korea to make trouble for the United States, so that Trump would have to come hand in hand with China and say, please help me deal with North Korea. And since much of Trump's campaign was focused on trying to get an even balance of trade with China, which would be a disaster for their economy, they may want to use North Korea as a lever to force Trump to back off his economic demands.
Mm. Well, Dick, so you spoke about North Korea's limited missile capability, their limited ability to deliver a nuclear warhead. But Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House, has written about this ad nauseum, about the threat of an EMP, where you lob a warhead a few hundred miles above the United States, the continental United States, and you're able to fry all of the electronics and the electrical grid in every car, in every truck, and every gasoline pump in this country.
And it's off the air.
Yeah, and up until the 80s, I mean, through the Reagan administration, we had plans to harden our infrastructure against EMP attack through the Cold War, and it wasn't until after Reagan that those plans were rolled back. And so I don't think people realize just how vulnerable we are to this sort of threat. I mean, it would just take one. It would just take the delivery of one a few hundred miles above the continental United States to really throw us back into the dark ages.
And also, by the way, for the pacifists among us, sunstorms, solar storms in the sun could do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And in July of 2015, we missed by 1 week having our whole grid knocked out by a solar storm. Mm-hmm. It just happened 7 or 8 days early, and we weren't at precisely the point where that could happen.
Yeah,
it's very important for us to upgrade our silos and our grid, and harden the transistors, the transformers, so that this attack could not happen. It doesn't cost a hell of a lot of money, $20 or $30 billion. Would do it. And if I were Trump, I would go on the air right now and say, number one, I'm going to harden our grid. Number two, I'm going to deploy space-based missiles. And number three, if North Korea tries any sort of attack, we're going to shoot their missiles down right on the launching pad.
If Syria uses chemical weapons again, Dick, does he strike again?
I think he has to. Yes.
You have I mean, obviously when you were with Clinton, Putin wasn't around yet, but if he does that again, if Trump does, well, first of all, let me ask you a two-part question. Obviously, Putin has influence over what happens in Syria. In fact, he just called for it today. There's going to be a meeting on Friday in Moscow between Putin, Iran, and Syria. So I'm sure they'll be talking much about what happens with Tillerson's visit there, and also the strategy of what to do next. Two-part question. A, does Putin have, let's call it, the manhood to tell Assad that he should try this chemical game again? And two, if they do that and Trump does strike back, does Putin have the manhood to really launch out at the United States in the way that he and Iran have both threatened over the last couple of days?
The answer to your first question is yes, and your second question is no. I think Assad is going to go ahead and continue to launch gas attacks. I think his ego and his saving face require it. I think that Russia, on the other hand, knows there are sharp limits to what it can do when playing with the United States, and they used to call it brinksmanship, right up to the brink of war and then backing off. And I think Putin will have problems with that. I'll tell you something else. I do not think the Russian people will sit by quietly and idly and watch Putin get close to a nuclear war with the United States.
So is this the sort of situation, Dick, where Trump is best served as the commander-in-chief and the person who has all of our safety basically in his hands? Is he best served at this point to just keep marching forward with the let's call it a tough love approach?
I'm not sure there's a lot of love there. It's toughness. I think he has to be very aggressive about chemical weapons. By bombing, he in fact enforced the line in the sand that Obama drew and then erased. Now Trump is stuck with that line, and he better honor it. And I think it's very possible for him to continue to do that without getting mixed up in the whole Civil War.
Well, the reason why I use the term tough love is because you know and I know that the mainstream media is going to, they take any narrative that they think that they can grab their hands around. And last month it was he's in bed with Putin, and now this month it's going to be Trump wants to have a World War III. And so I use tough love because I'd like Trump to come out and say, listen, I'm going to continue, but I would rather be friends.
Yeah, and I think that's a card that Trump needs to play. I think the reason that Putin wanted Trump to win the election, which he clearly did, was not because of some personal animosity against Hillary, although that's easy to understand. I think that, in fact, what it was is that Putin and Trump both see the potential in triangular diplomacy, where the United States and Russia combine against China, just as in the 1970s, Nixon and China combined against Russia. And I think that that really could happen. And I think that that we would be well served if Trump tells Putin, hey, knock it off. I want to work with you about China, and I can't if you keep screwing with me in Syria.
So Dick, look out for, let's say, 3 months, 4 months from now. Where is this whole situation?
Well, I hope that we take the steps that I'm recommending to protect ourselves and our allies against a nuclear North Korea. And I think that with missiles, and I think we will do that, and I think we can do it, and we may, in fact, be doing it, just not announcing it. But the second thing is that I think that the United States will be able to stop Assad from using chemical weapons. And then I think the war will continue to go on there. It just won't be with chemical weapons. And we can't stop that war, and ultimately we don't care about it. What we have to do is to make sure that ISIS is defeated, and I think Trump is doing a pretty good job of it.
Okay, so let me just tell viewers a couple of things here, and then we'll get back to you in a second, Dick. First of all, we are right now interviewing Dick Morris, and we're talking about everything with Russia and with North Korea and with Syria. We're also now going to change gears a little bit to the things that are going on more domestically here in the country. Dick, as I've told you before we started, he is one of the strongest, smartest, most in-tune political minds there is in the country. That's my opinion. If you want to ask Dick questions, right now go to DennisMichaelLynch.com, hit the Submit News, put the subject as Dick Morris, and send us a question. Keep your question to one line, otherwise I'm not going to have time to read it. I always get bombarded with these things, so make your question something that I have not already spoke to Mr. Morris about, and we'll get it out there. The other thing I have to strongly, and I mean strongly suggest, is that you make DickMorris.com one of your daily visits. And I never say that about somebody else's website. I'd rather you go to my website than anybody else's. But Dick Morris has what's called a lunch alert. I watch it every single day. It comes in at about noon. You could sign up for it via email. He puts out these short 2-3 minute videos. They're sensational. They're phenomenal. It gives incredible insight. I can tell you that 9 out of 10 times the stuff that he's feeding I use when I'm writing my articles or whenever I'm in conversation. He hasn't really set me wrong yet. There are a couple of things I disagree with him once in a while. We could talk about that towards the end of the show, but I want to stick on some of the more serious stuff right now. Dick, I want to change gears for a second.
Thank you very much, Dennis. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Dick, you know me well enough at this point. I don't say things unless I mean them. Let me say this, Dick. There is this belief that the inside of the White House is in complete disarray. You've got Bannon saying, hey, let's do one thing. You've got Kushner saying, hey, let's do another. You have people saying, well, Bannon's alt-right and Kushner's really a closet Democrat. And there's a part of me that believes this is really the mainstream media trying to take the focus off Trump's accomplishments at the moment. At the same time I don't want to be blind to the way that life works. And when you've got a lot of people in one house, there are times when people disagree. So you know what it's like to operate inside a White House. That said, from your perspective, what is really taking place inside the White House? And if there is some disarray, how do you see this falling out?
Well, I think a certain proportion of the media reports have to be discounted because they have been intent on trying to show Trump as incapable of governing, spawning chaos, and his camp helplessly riven. And that's all ridiculous when you look at the magnitude of the achievements this guy's had. Jobs added to the economy, housing starts way up, housing availability way down on the market, illegal immigration way down, all kinds of great stuff. He couldn't be in disarray. But apart from that, there's an effort here to get rid of Bannon, because Bannon is the difference between a conventional, mainstream, conservative, George Bush-style presidency and the Donald Trump-style presidency many people voted for. Ultimately, what the establishment wants to do is to capture Trump. And to do that, they had to get rid of two people. They had to get rid of Steve Bannon. They had to get rid of Michael Flynn, the National Security Advisor. They invented this whole Russian issue and used wiretapping and naming of people in a conspiracy, sort of a gambit in chess that ultimately led to his dismissal. Now they're trying to set that up with Bannon. And they're trying to set it up because he is, he's like Drew Bundy Brown, the guy who was the corner man for Muhammad Ali, who invented the phrase "float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." Mm-hmm. He's the muse, soul man of Donald Trump. And if without him, Trump would be a mass of instincts, but no clear understanding of how to communicate them, and certainly no understanding of how to implement them in government. And even if he had the understanding, he wouldn't have the aids that he can use to do that in a complex U.S. government. So he needs Steve Bannon. And we need Steve Bannon because otherwise this administration will drift back into the Bush administration.
But see, Dick, you're scaring the daylights out of me. You're scaring the daylights out of me, and I'll tell you why. One of the reasons why I've always supported Donald Trump, and I still do, is because he's such a strong personality, and I didn't feel as if he could be bullied around. Now, you have the insight and the inside knowledge of how that whole D.C. thing works. When you say that the reason why they want to peel away Flynn and they want to peel away Bannon is because the elite wants to get inside that White House and they want to take control. My feeling is that Trump would turn around and say, get out of here, get out of my office. I'm not dealing with you guys. I ran against you. But now I hear you saying this, and I'm sort of connecting the dots a little bit, and I don't like what I'm seeing because I have always questioned why it is that President Trump embraced Paul Ryan when it came to this health care bill. It is one of the great mysteries of my life. Why, is this all part of the plan? And if it is, why is Trump falling for that?
Well, health care is a separate topic. We'll deal with that separately if you want. But in terms of the basic thrust, yeah, the establishment wants to get rid of Bannon. Now, Trump has great self-confidence. That's an understatement. And he obviously believes he can get along without anybody. And perhaps he can. But clearly the person who keeps the theme of Donald Trump closest to his heart and keeps it as a major theme throughout the presidency is Bannon. And they would much rather that the Rex Tillerson types run foreign policy and that the Goldman Sachs types run the economy, like the Bush administration always did. And Bannon is a threat to that. So all of the negative publicity you read about Bannon, take with an enormous grain of salt. What you're reading is the establishment attempting to tell us who to get rid of Bannon so that they can make Trump more manageable.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, one of my biggest takeaways is one of the establishment figures that is the media, the mainstream media in this country. And they've gone from polar positions on this issue of Russia in just a matter of 7 days. 7 days ago, the narrative the mainstream media was pushing was that Donald Trump was, for lack of a better term, in bed with Putin. Now, if you listen to CNN and MSNBC, the narrative that they're pushing is that Donald Trump is driving us into World War III with Russia. And so at some point, my question is, Dick, do the American people listen to that? And do they say the media has discredited itself time and time again, but this is just totally outrageous? How can they say with any sort of credibility that this pendulum swing in a matter of 7 days is anything but a fabrication?
I think you're right. I think that they have always seen the media as coming up with these stories, fake news. That's why they voted for Trump, despite the media doing everything it could to defeat him for a long period of time. And I think we will see through that. I think that when there is no war with Russia, and we have some progress with Assad, and we are able to stop the routine use of chemical weapons, then I think we'll make a big deal.
Let me push back, though, if you don't mind, because the ratings for MSNBC and CNN and the mainstream media are up. It seems that even though, if you look at the polling, the surveys, it looks as though their distrust of the media is at an all-time high, but their ratings are up, the New York Times subscriptions are up. So it seems as though there is an audience for some of this, and that they haven't yet discredited themselves.
Well, people are going to watch, and they're going to listen, and they're going to read. That doesn't mean they're going to agree. We have had a long effort over the 20th century to eliminate chemical weapons. And it was so successful that Adolf Hitler did not use them on the battlefield. And it wasn't used in Vietnam, and it wasn't used in the Middle East until Assad. So stopping the use of chemical weapons by itself, per se, is a very important goal. I want to talk about the healthcare line you threw out. Can I do that?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
I like the Ryan bill, and I like the Trump bill, and I think they ought to pass it. And I think this fetching about how it's a little bad here and a little bad there and not quite this there and doesn't go so far there is ridiculous, and I think it's inhibiting Trump from governing. If Trump doesn't pass this health care reform bill, it'll be the same kind of black eye on his administration in the first year that the Bay of Pigs was on Kennedy's administration in the first year. I think that the fundamental thing that you have to do about Obamacare is get rid of the two mandates. The mandate that each person has to buy insurance, this bill does that, and the mandate that every insurance policy has to cover everything, which means you have to have high premiums, whatever you want, and this bill, the revised bill, does that. And yeah, it's a little unfair to the older people, and yeah, it's a little, premium subsidies are a little high, and yeah, it doesn't do as much as it should do on the Medicaid bill. But fellow Republicans, stuff it. This guy is your president, he's our president, and he's got to pass this thing. Otherwise, functionally, he and you are out of office. So
Dick,
get with it and get off the dime. Pass this damn.
Dick, do you remember a few minutes ago, I said to you, I agree with most of what I hear you say, and then periodically I don't? You just hit the gong. All right? This was the gong show. We just hit the gong. Dick, I don't understand. I mean, the fundamentals of Obamacare drive up the premiums. They drive them up to a level to where people are just strangulated, yours truly included. And I haven't seen or heard enough about how it is that they're going to drive that down. And so, you know, President Trump, just to turn around and put something new into place, something that doesn't really work, Dick, that becomes Trump care, and I think that puts him in greater jeopardy than turning around and doing nothing at all. I would prefer to let him see this Obamacare get even closer to the abyss and then pull in something when he has more leverage. Why am I wrong in that?
Well, you're wrong about the fundamental thing about the cost of health care. The reason health care premiums are so high under Obamacare is that when that bill was going through, he learned the lesson of the failure of Hillary in '93. And he lined up every special interest to endorse the bill, from chiropractors to nurses to doctors to surgeons to psychologists to drug counselors to Planned Parenthood. Everybody was for this bill because they all got their piece of it. And the piece of patronage they got was a requirement that their pet service be included in the policy. So you had this ridiculous system where men had to have maternity benefits, and where people 60 years old had to have substance abuse. And you just had this incredible thing where everybody had to be covered for everything. And that meant that the premium sky high.
That's what I just said.
Straight catastrophic coverage. And if you say you don't have to cover all of this nonsense, you can just get a real bare bones catastrophic plan, you'll be able to buy that for a very low, affordable premium.
Yeah, but Dick, that's what I just said.
That's what I just said.
I just said the fundamentals on Obamacare, and that's what drives up the cost, was that, you know, I have to get insurance that I just do not need. I mean, my wife cannot have babies, and yet I've got to turn around and get that sort of thing in place.
But under the Trump bill, you won't have to.
Yep. Wait a
Under
second.
the Trump bill, you can get whatever you want.
Hold on, Dick.
I don't want maternity benefits. And like buying a car. I don't want this option. I don't want that option. I don't want the other option. What's the price? And you can do that under the new proposal that Trump is making. You can prune down what you want to a point where you can afford it.
Hold on, Dick. We need to do something with your... I'm getting the feedback out of his... If he turns his laptop down?
Yeah, his sound.
Yeah, but he hasn't done anything different. I'm getting a reverb. That's basically what's coming down. Yeah, I can still hear it. It's coming back. It's a reverb.
How's that now?
Oh, it's not your fault, Dick. It's just Skype sucks. I can hear myself twice. So I'm going to give you a couple of layup questions here and let you just answer these things. Number one, from Brianna. What are your thoughts on Trump opposing Obama bombing Syria in 2013? Liberals are saying he opposed it, and now he is blaming Obama for inaction.
Well, Trump criticized Obama for not bombing Syria and said that that Trump had drawn a line in the sand and then let Assad cross it without consequence. So it's not inconsistent with what he's doing now. Trump now believes, and believed then, that we cannot be involved in Syria the same way we were in Iraq about getting rid of Assad and changing the government. He's learned that. But he wants to discipline them not to use poison gas. And I think that's a very good idea.
All right, next one comes in from Candy Miller. She wants to know, can you address the Internet Security Bill, assuming you know it?
That's one of the bills that I really oppose that Trump pushed. I think it's fundamentally wrong. What he did was to repeal by executive order and by legislative reversal. The Obama administration had placed limits on what internet providers can do with your data. And his concept was let the free market reign. If they know that you like sneakers from Nike, let them publish that to Nike and let Nike sell you sneakers. If they're made in the U.S. And I think that the fundamental thrust of what Obama did was to limit the marketing capabilities because he said that was an intrusion on privacy. And Trump, who's a laissez-faire guy, a businessman, says, hey, let them all do it, let them all compete, and if it results in more sales and more production and more jobs, go for it. I'd side with Obama on that one, but I can see Trump's point of view.
All right, next question is from Lisa Taylor. She's curious to hear your take on the wiretapping issue about Obama's administration wiretapping Trump.
Well, I'm just in the last moments, literally, as soon as I get off this show, of finishing a book with Eileen and I called Rogue Spooks, the intelligence community conspiracy to destroy Trump. And I believe that from the very beginning of the time that it looked like Trump could win, from the very beginning of the time he got the Republican nomination, the intelligence community, the CIA and the FBI and the NSA, have been working with Obama's political types to destroy Donald Trump. And I think this one is a deep conspiracy. It's a continuation, really, of how the FBI, about the CIA got rid of Nixon and Watergate. Nixon deserved it, Trump doesn't. And it's this kind of independent spook government, in effect, doing a coup d'etat in the United States. My book will come out in about 3 months, and urge you to read it then. We'll talk about it on this show quite a bit.
Of course we will. Barb Ziegler wants to know, will the Clintons ever be held accountable for any of the actions they've ever taken wrong? Obama too.
Oh, Lord, I hope so. I hope that Trump moves it ahead on that. I think that what he's waiting for is for the case to percolate up in the FBI. And he's probably sitting back passively for once and saying, if you come to me with a recommendation to prosecute, I will not stand in your way. And but it has to come from the bowels of the Justice Department. And we need to see what happens. We need to see if it's fundamentally in any way a fair process. If the FBI doesn't do it, they skated on another one. But I don't think I'm optimistic. I think the FBI, particularly in these U.S. attorney offices in New York and Little Rock, Washington, and Miami, is quite focused on that issue. And that's one of the reasons why you don't hear anything from Bill Clinton these days, and you hear only muted criticism from Hillary. I think they're scared to death of this stuff coming up and biting them.
Well, it's funny you say that because the next question I have is from Joe Woods. I don't know if this is a girl or a guy, but Joe Woods wants to know, can we even trust the FBI anymore?
Well, you shouldn't blindly trust anybody. And the FBI is composed of people. And we have to remember that Eric Holder, the most rabid left-wing attorney general we've ever had, stacked the FBI with his people. So trust him, but be cautious.
All right, so I have one more question before we get into, we got about another 6 minutes left. One more question before I give our viewers the red meat they've been dying for. So one more question, which is, if you had to pick a Democrat right now, Dick, and let me just say, Dick, if the day ever comes where I decide to run for any office, you are my first phone call. So I know that you're a picker when it comes to these. If there's a Democrat out there right now who scares you for the 2020 election, who would it be?
It would not be Elizabeth Warren. It would not be Hillary Clinton. It would not be any of the Bernie Sanders. There might be backbenchers in the Democratic Party that could handle themselves, a Marvin Mandel or a Sherrod Brown or somebody else, and they could be problematic, but way too early to do that.
Do you think it could possibly be another billionaire, somebody like maybe like a Schultz from Starbucks, somebody who will come out of the woodwork, if you will, or even somebody like what's his face, the guy Cuban, Mark Cuban? You think somebody like that would have a good chance at?
Yeah, I think they would have a shot at the nomination. I think the Democratic Party electorate is really disenchanted with its own party leadership, and I think that they would be ripe for that kind of a challenge.
What about Michelle Obama?
I think that's a nothing burger.
Okay. All right. So now we have to give everybody some red meat. You ready, Dick? Hillary Clinton. So first of all, do you ever see Hillary running for any sort of office? I mean, New York governor is coming up. I mean, that's an opportunity. She has been, you know, she says she's coming out of the woods. She's trying to get back in. What's that all about? Do you really think what is she trying to do?
She's trying to run again. Hillary will always be trying to run again. You put your finger on her wrist, and if you hear a throbbing, that's a pulse, and she's running. She will never not run unless she's physically incapable of doing it. And I think that Hillary is out there testing the waters, stirring the waters a little bit, and waiting to see the kind of support she might get. She's starting from very, very, very far down. But the Clintons have come back before. They were in terrible shape when Bill left the White House in 2001. He had just pled guilty to almost basically a felony, a misdemeanor, but a felony in the Paula Jones case. He'd been stripped of his law license. He was being excoriated for she stole the White House china. He was accepting speaking fees that he shouldn't have taken, and all kinds of stuff. Right now, I think Bill and Hillary have to lay low because they have to be sure that they can escape culpability for the Clinton Foundation. And there's enough pay-for-play bribery evidence there that they could be indicted and they could be successfully prosecuted. So I think that at the moment they're trying to let that cloud move from over the overhead. But it will eventually move, I think, although perhaps not. And then at that point, I think she's going to try to run.
Run for what? Governor or president?
Running will always run.
Run for president or governor?
Run for president or governor?
President. She's not going to fool with governor.
But Dick, you know this. I mean, the Democrats are never going to give her the nomination again.
Well, it's not like the Democrats control it. The voters control it in the Democratic primary. And Hillary's got a real organization, a real fundraising ability. It's hard from this vantage to see what's going to be the case in 2020. And don't prejudge it. And don't ever, ever, ever count Hillary out.
All right, so Dick, I do want one more. I want one more thing before I play it.
I have to make a living, you know.
All right, so let me ask you a question. I remember one time on my Newsmax show, you told a story about the Clintons, Bill and Hillary, that there was a lot of violence. You know, there was violence in their relationship. Can you allude on it? Can you tell that story again?
Well, it wasn't about Bill and Hillary against each other. It was Bill versus me.
Right.
It was in May of 1990. And Bill was running for re-election for the last time as governor of Arkansas, and I was running his campaign. And he was running into trouble. His opponent had moved to within striking distance, and he was furious at me. It was a late-night meeting. He'd been drinking, and he really just unloaded on me, cursing at me and yelling at me and saying this was all my fault and that I'd done a terrible job and so on and so on. And I had taken it up to here, and I stormed out of the governor's mansion. And he came running after me, grabbed me at the front door, tackled me, threw me to the ground, and was on top of me with his fist back. And Hillary grabbed his arm and pulled him back and said, Bill, stop, think of what you're doing. Bill, stop it. And Clinton jumped up to his feet and started sputtering apologies, and I stormed out the door. Hillary then followed after me put her arm around me and walked me around the grounds of the mansion, calming me down. He doesn't mean this, Dick. He's sorry. He gets this way sometimes. He doesn't mean it. And then she said something that I'll never forget. She said, he only does this to people he loves.
which leads you to believe what it is that I said at the opening of that question. All right, so
he won the election.
So Dick, I'm going to play a clip right now. You're not going to be able to hear it. I will tell you what it says when it's done, but it's a clip of Paul Ryan. He just said something last week. People are asking me to please run it, so I want to run the clip, and then I want to get your 2 cents on this. Run the Paul Ryan clip from last week.
We will need more time to do tax reform. The House has a plan, but the Senate doesn't quite have one yet. They're working on one. The White House hasn't nailed it down. So even the 3 entities aren't on the same page yet.
All right, I don't know, Dick. What basically was is Paul Ryan was somewhere, and he was asked about tax reform, and he said that right now the House has something in order, but the Senate has nothing in order, and the President has nothing in order. And I took that as being Paul Ryan's way of kicking President Trump in the shins. So I'm asking you, should the American people trust Paul Ryan? Should President Trump trust Paul Ryan? And should the American people just forget about ever getting a tax break from this president?
Well, Paul Ryan is the only thing that Trump's got in the House. He needs a speaker who can at least hold the center. And Ryan has been able to do that, both on confirmations and even on health care. And I think that he's trying to be a good speaker. Ryan is a guy of very good faith. He's not the kind of guy that knifes you in the back. If anything, he's too naive and sometimes insufficiently sophisticated politically. But he's not a backstabber. And I think Ryan is doing the best he can. I think the problem is that the easy fix was health care. The tough fix is tax reform. And Trump bobbled health care. And I think he's got to pass that before he goes to tax reform, because trying to recover your footing by the most complex subject in the world is going to be very difficult. My own suggestion on tax reform is that the way to win that issue is to make the tax reform voluntary. Say you can take the mortgage interest deduction, you can take a state and local tax deduction, you can take all of those deductions and pay the same high tax bracket you do now. Or you could file a short 1040 form, a short form, take no deductions, take nothing off, and pay a tax rate that's 10 or 15 points lower, your choice. And I think most people will ultimately choose the short form. They'll realize with what they pay accountants and lawyers and stuff and H&R Block, they'll save money this way. And I believe that the special interests will be limited in the extent to which they can campaign against that, because after all, it's giving everybody their choice. And I think that's the key to this tax reform issue. But it's a very complicated issue, and we would need more time to explore it, and we need to see how it plays out. But my advice to Trump is get health care passed and then move on.
All right, well, Dick, I want to say thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, I'm going to be asking you to come back again. We started off a little slow because of the technical issues. Skype sucks. They're going to have that on my, when I die, it's going to be written somewhere. But anyway, you were great. I didn't agree with everything you said, especially with Paul Ryan, but that's for our next conversation. I want to emphasize everybody else again. Dick Morris has some of the best books I've ever read. Go to dickmorris.com, sign up for his daily lunch alert, follow him on Twitter, follow him on Facebook. The lunch alert, 2-minute, 3-minute videos, they are the best ones out there. I listen to them all the time, every single day. He does not do it from the pink chair. He saves the pink chair for when he's with me. It's sort of like this little relationship we have going. People are going to start talking about it all over social media. But that's okay, Dick. We'll keep it a secret. That said, Dick, if there's anything else, you're writing a book. You said you're writing a book right now. It's another book. What's that called?
I'm sorry, please say that again.
What's your new book that you're writing? What's it called?
It's coming out in late July or early August. It's called Rogue Spooks, and the subtitle is The Intelligence Community Plot to destroy Donald Trump.
All right. Well, obviously, we're going to have you on with that as well. So I'll reach out to you another week or so, Dick, and I appreciate you taking the hour to come on here. We get good crowds. This will be watched at least 100,000 times. And don't be surprised if you get 99,000 emails telling you that Paul Ryan sucks. But anyway, all right. You stay well. I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy your weekend, okay?
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks. Just do me a favor. Close the lid to your laptop so we don't get the feedback anymore. All right, Harlan. So here's my deal.
Yeah.
Here's how I feel about this. Very long interview, very insightful.
Always. He's always insightful.
He's very insightful. He's very insightful. And like I said, I don't always agree with what he has to say. And I do not agree with what he had to say there in terms of Paul Ryan. I think, and look, I don't have the sort of, I don't know what you call it. I don't have the sort of, well, I don't have the sort of insight he does when it comes to what a White House operates like. Yeah. I'm not going to pretend to even know what that's all about, nor do I know, much about Paul Ryan, the person, aside from the Paul Ryan who I see on television and the Paul Ryan who writes bills that I think are just absolutely insane and what have you. Paul Ryan has shown me as an American and as a person in the media that he cannot be trusted, and I would like the president to stay away from him. I know what he's saying, he needs him for the House, but so far we're 0 for 1 with him, and it looks like from what we just saw in that clip, we'll be 0 for 2.
Yeah, well, I think the way that Dick, and I don't want to speak for Dick, but this is how I interpreted it, is that Dick is looking at this from, he's doing political calculus, right? He's not talking necessarily about the policy. He's saying that if you're a Republican, if you're in the Trump coalition, you want to see Trump get a win. And so I really believe that that's how Dick was analyzing this, less about the policy as you are, because I think that you're totally right when we're trying to address premiums. But
when it comes to the healthcare thing?
Yes.
He's wrong on that. I can tell you right now, he's wrong on that. Or either that or he didn't hear what I had to say correctly, and it could be because of the sound coming back. The fundamentals of Obamacare were that you had these, I think it was either 10 or 12. There were 10 or 12 programs that had to be in there. Yeah. And if you did not have them in your plan, meaning you were one of the insurance companies, you were not going to be in the exchanges. That's it. Yep. So now a person like myself who's never done drugs, and he repeated this back to me, that's where I got a little confused. A person who's never done drugs like myself, I still have to get dependency insurance. A person like my wife who cannot have babies anymore, she's got to have maternity leave insurance. So these things is what drove up the premiums. That's what the Freedom Caucus was fighting about. The Freedom Caucus was saying, wait a second. We can't have this. You need to drive those prices all the way down, because all that Trump's new plan did with Paul Ryan, and they said we're going to be some revisions, and the Freedom Caucus said, no, the revisions aren't enough. You're not making it, the premiums are going to stay high. Trump's plan was a three-part plan that parts 2 and 3 were never going to come to fruition. We couldn't get part 1 in. How are you going to get part 3 through? So that was the part he didn't answer. And I should have asked another follow-up question, but I think I was reading things, so it was a poor thing on my end. I'll fight with him on it next time.
There's plenty of time. We still have a lot.
But I understand, and this is where I disagree with him. And look, I've been wrong before. He's been wrong before. Where I disagree with him, and I guess time will tell. Had that health care plan passed, and John Q. Public, and Dennis Michael Lynch, and Harlan, and Tim, our premiums didn't go down, I would have had a hard time pulling the lever. Now, obviously, I'm going to pull the lever for him over maybe, let's say, for instance, whoever you want to pick, Warren, Senator Warren. But I would have been thoroughly disappointed, and my ability to champion for this guy would be less. And therefore, Warren, or whoever else is going to run, would have a bigger wave.
You're right, but that's a communication mistake that the Trump administration made. They should have said that part 1 is about eliminating the mandates, not about addressing premiums. Because in order to pass this legislation, we're kind of hogtied in how much we can do in this first piece. And then saying, in step 2, we're going to reduce costs. If they had come out from day 1 and they had been really clear about what the steps are, that these are separate bills and they address different problems, then that clarity would have prevented this confusion.
I'm going to push back on you a little bit too. I think they did try to do that. I think they did try to do that over and over and over again.
But then how can you make an argument?
Because the problem was that we were never going to get the votes for Phase 3. You needed 60 votes to get Phase 3. The Phase 1 didn't require 60 votes because it was a reconciliation bill.
Yeah.
And so that's where the concern came with this thing. Now, if you don't get the 60 votes, you're still stuck with Obamacare. And so the one thing that was great about the reconciliation bill was that we were going to have Planned Parenthood that was going to be defunded.
Sure.
But I'm sorry. You know, at the end of the day, it's not enough to pass something like that. And my concern on it, as being a Trump supporter and somebody who doesn't want to see him only go 4 years, was that if he did that, he was thinking first inning and not ninth inning. And the ninth inning was, and I don't think anybody said this to him, including Paul Ryan, this is why I don't trust him, was that, listen, Mr. President, if you put this in and we don't win the midterms, and we have less people in Congress than we do now, and it doesn't pass, you're going to be stuck with what's going to be known as Trump care, and the premiums are going to stay here. And nobody's going to want to hear about your Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. They're just going to look at their bill at the end of the month and say, Trump failed me. Trump care is worse than Obamacare, because the way that the projections were was that unless you got Phase 3, if you just got Phase 1, your premiums were going to skyrocket beyond Obamacare.
This is a lot, but the bottom line is that if he doesn't pass any health care, anything, then he has failed us. So that's it. That's where we are. And so, and I don't know, are we going to pass anything at this point? I don't think that it's reasonable.
Harlan, it's a beautiful day right now.
Yeah? Okay.
And it's going to be beautiful tomorrow. Let's film the walk and talk outside tomorrow at the lake. What do you think?
Sure.
Okay, bad answer. You want to know why?
Why?
Because your answer should be, we're not set up for that yet.
Oh,
we'll fail.
figure that out.
We can't get everything out there. Yeah, but this is my point. My point is, it would be great. It would be great to be at the lake tomorrow, but we can't get all this equipment out there. We could barely get this off without any hitches. And that's where I'm trying to make my example. Healthcare needs to be addressed, but to address it now in the first 100 days, and while he's still learning everything that's going around or whatever, and at the same time is what we're watching Obamacare slowly but surely fall into the abyss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let me ask you this. It's almost like, you know, how much would you pay me to save your life right now? You're like, I'm not going to save you anything. I'm not going to pay you anything. I'm not in fear of my life. Now all of a sudden you're tied down in the middle of the road and I say, how much are you going to pay me now? You'd be like, I'll give you everything I got.
Yeah.
So we needed to get the Democrats to the level of desperation, and they're just not there yet. And that's where I think this was a tactical mistake. This is why I don't trust Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan should have known this. He does know this, and he should have warned the president of this, and I don't think he did. I think what he did was he set the president up for a fall. Paul Ryan and the establishment do not want President Trump. They want him less than the Democrats want him. I am sold on that. I will never change it. I'm stuck on that.
Yeah, well, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But now I think that we're going to get zero healthcare reform. So then the mandate...
I don't believe that.
I do.
I don't believe that. Because Obamacare is not going away, big guy. People are still, all these places are falling out of the exchange. There were all these communities that only have one left.
Things are going to have to get really bad for Democrats to start working with the Trump administration and Republicans in Congress. And I'm not sure what the timetable is going to be. I mean, things are already bad enough that I would think that the pain would be worth them crossing the line. And they're not doing it.
I disagree. Here we go.
Look at how premiums are skyrocketing. I mean, in some states up 50, 60% year over year.
2 years from now, you and I, maybe less than 2 years from now, 2 years from you and I, I'll make sure, make note to self to play that back, this back. Because what will happen, I think, is that when it starts to become closer to midterms, and Obamacare is a complete and utter disaster, the Democrats are going to have to go back to their constituents and answer to the fact that they have absolutely blown up these people's health care. and the president's going to be able to say, I had a plan. They wouldn't vote for it. I said to them, come on back. See, what I would be telling them if I was his advisor, come a year from now, you need to be tweeting out all the time, begging Democrats, it's getting so bad in Obamacare, please come meet me. I'm looking to meet with you. I want to meet with you. We've got to come up with something for the American people. And those people aren't going to show up. And President Trump calls them out, and he pushes them into the fire, and then the Democrat who's running for re-election has to stand in front of his constituents and say, well, I got to be anti-Trump. And then the person says, well, you know what you did? You didn't talk to the president. I got no health insurance. At that point, Harlan, people don't care about Trump or the Democrats or the donkeys or the elephants. They care about themselves. They care about their bills. They care about their wallet. They care about the healthiness and the wellness of their family. They don't want to hear about any of the government crap. And you know what? They'll vote for the other guy that says, if you vote for me, President Trump will be able to get the 60 votes that he needs, and we can get real health care back in here. That's the way I would have strategically done it.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, and Republicans are already facing some dangerously close races. You see the congressional race in Georgia, where it looks like a Democratic challenger may take Price's old seat. You know, they have some other races in like Kansas and other parts of the country where it does seem as though the Democrats are very well organized, and they feel like they're insurgent, that they're resisting the Trump administration. And my concern is that they have no incentive yet to vote for him. Now, well, if they lose big in the midterms, to your point, this might be different. But there are a lot of unknowns.
Well, that's the way, if I were advising Trump, or if it was my presidency, and we were sitting around and, you know, you were one of my top aides and I had whoever here around, I'd say, no, unfortunately, we're going to smoke this out.
I don't think you're wrong. I just don't. I just really question whether the pieces are going to align. Trump's got a lot of distractions at this point. You know, I mean, look at North Korea and Syria. I mean, the world is a minefield, and he's having to navigate it right now, and that's a tremendous distraction to a lot of the domestic policy we need to tackle.
Yes, but at the same time he's not operating alone. And while all this stuff is happening over in Russia and Syria and North Korea, I still have my insurance premium to pay at the first of the month, and so does Sally, and so does Joe. And so whether they're a Democrat or they're a Republican. And so life continues to continue, and as it starts to get more painful and more painful, you want to relieve that pain.
Absolutely.
And so it's going to be the person who can make the better sales pitch as to why that pain exists. For Trump, it's going to be, I tried. And the Democrats did not come and help me. I didn't care about whatever, you know, about right and left. I cared about what was right versus wrong. And it's wrong for you not to have insurance. Let me help you. Help me help you. Don't elect that guy again because he wears a blue tie. Get me my guys, and I promise you, you'll have health care. That's the way I'm selling it.
All I know is we better get tax reform this year. We better get this infrastructure spending bill this year, or we're going to have some real problems because the markets and a lot of everyday Americans and small businesses have baked in that these things are going to happen. It was already a disappointment that we didn't get anything. It didn't matter what the health care bill was. People just wanted a solution to these high premiums. And they weren't able to deliver on it. And I hope you're right and it comes in a couple of years.
I'm going to push back to you.
Do it
again, okay? And this is the way I would handle things. I'm just speaking for the way that I would handle things, okay? Because I've thought this out. I had to think it out long and hard. This whole 100 days thing is important in the sense that if you can get things done, fantastic. You have a great narrative. At the same time, the country does not fall into the abyss on day 101. Okay, it doesn't mean you can't be effective on day 102.
I'm talking about the first year.
Let me put it out. That's number one. I would rather be great. It has always been my way. I would rather be great at one thing than good at 5. And so I like the fact that right now that President Trump can hold his hands up and say, I am great at helping people create jobs. That narrative right now, I would say layer it on, layer it on, layer it on, layer it on, layer it on. Because as I've said to you many times before, and I've said to these people many times before, if you're getting a job, if you're one of the 400,000 plus people who got a job in March, you're not all conservatives. There are liberals who got jobs, and their life just changed for the better because of President Trump. And the same thing goes the month before and the month before. If he continues to do this, he continues to work with CEOs, he quietly and boringly continues to peel back regulations, one after the next, after the next, after the next, and he keeps on pulling them back, things are going to open up, more people are going to have jobs. His number 2 thing of greatness, and this comes from a guy who knows this topic as well as anybody else, is that the apprehensions at the border are down. The crossings come across are down. People are starting to get deported. If he were to put in that damn E-Verify as a mandatory level and we were to cut off that magnet, people would start going home. If at the end of this year, we don't have new health care and we don't have a tax cut, but we've got illegal aliens on the out, we've got illegal aliens not coming on the in. We got more Americans taking those jobs, and overall we got more Americans getting better paying jobs because, oh, by the way, Toyota's putting in $1.3 billion into Kentucky. And then we've got machine. That alone, those 2 things there alone, he'll be able to stand up and say, look what I delivered, and everybody will see, give this guy enough time, he's going to be able to get it. We are moving the Titanic. You know, it's not a speedboat. And so once he gets that, he'll then get more leverage, I think, to create the tax cuts and to create the health care, because those midterms will go in our favor. Just my take. That's the way I would do it. Maybe I'd get blown up.
I bet nothing gets done next year because everybody's going to be running for re-election. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that we have until the end of this year to start passing some legislation. And he promised health care reform in the first year. He promised infrastructure spending in the first year. He promised immigration reform in the first year. He promised tax cut reform in the first year. He ran on this.
I know, but you know what, Holland?
It's not that I disagree with what you're saying. I agree, but I just think that the expectations are very high for him, and it will be disappointing to many people, not just voters, but investors on Wall Street as well. And he cares about that indicator.
I think we've come to a place in America where when all the promises are being made, most people realize the fact that those promises, although they sound great, some of them may never come to fruition. Or if you make a promise that says, hey, I'm going to have this done in the first 5 months, that it may not happen until the first 2 years. If you're at least trying to get to that level, I think people will accept the little things that are starting to come in and starting to come in. I do believe that Americans are smart enough to be able to decipher between stump talk and what happens in D.C. I mean, I would love to have known that more illegal aliens were getting deported than they have been already. It's going a little slower than I like, but then again, I'm an American and I expect my food to be,
on demand.
On demand.
Yes.
I want to have my channel changer and say, oh, I don't want to watch this show anymore. I got 5,000 shows I could choose from. Oh my goodness, there's 9,000 movies to choose from on Netflix and they all suck. You know what I mean? We have become a society that if we don't get everything instantly and we don't get everything exactly right now, we call it a failure. And at the end of the day, if you really strip away all the BS, and I've been very hard on President Trump, and I ain't changing my tune, I'm always going to be me. At the end of the day, what I see in jobs, and at the end of the day, what I see and what I hear from law enforcement people, and I see taking place, Jeff Sessions is at the border today. He's down at the border today. He's taking a look at it. He's seeing where it is. I mean, the DHS head, Kelly, said he thinks in the next couple of months we're going to start seeing some progress going up on the wall. Do I think the wall is the end all? No. But at least, if nothing else, it sends a message. People won't come. If it's nothing other than just a message, a red sign, fantastic. If nobody tries to climb it, good. So I do see us moving in a good direction.
I do too. I do too. It's just, I think the pace is concerning to me.
Well, listen, we've also got a Supreme Court justice now within the first 82 days.
Look, I went through a long laundry list a couple weeks ago of everything that he's done, and he's had an amazing first 100 days. We're not even to the end of it yet. But there's a common line between every single one of these issues, and they all come back to jobs and the economy. Immigration is an economic issue, at least in part. The infrastructure spending is an economic issue. Tax cuts, economic issue. Healthcare, economic issue. If we want to keep the pace of job growth up where it is, trade, economic issue. If we want to keep this pace up, I think that a lot of the investment in the American workforce and the hiring that's taking place over the last 3 or 4 months is speculative. People are thinking that things are going to get better, it's going to be easier to operate a business, the regulations are coming down, the taxes are going to come down. there's got to be light at the end of the tunnel so people know that the investments that they're making are real, you know, that the conditions will be there that they were expecting. So that's why I think it's important, and it needs to happen sooner rather than later.
Well, I'll also say this. I mean, while all this stuff is going on today, and we'll end on this, while all this stuff is going on today in Russia and North Korea, the president is meeting with CEOs today.
Absolutely.
So it's not like he's
He can walk
cabling
and chew at the
jobs
same time.
and business. Yeah, of course he can. All right, so a couple of very important things I'm going to tell you right now. I don't even know what the camera will look in because we've got camera issues today. Number one. Okay, so a couple little important things to tell you. First of all, tomorrow's Walk and Talk, we're going to have General Bob Dees. General Bob Dees, highly respected former general. He also served as the chairman of Ben Carson's campaign for president. I met him when I was consulting for a candidate, Carson, on immigration. He is going to come on tomorrow, and we're going to talk about all the things that are taking place from a military perspective. I hope you are here. Keep in mind, we are changing the time of the show. We are moving it towards 11:30 versus 11:40 just because it's more squared off and it's easier for us to operate. Harlan will disagree because he says, I need the extra 10 minutes, and I'm pulling him away. All right, same thing with Tim. Get here earlier. That's number one. Number two, all right, tonight's format of The Truth is going to be somewhat different. It will not be a half hour long. It's going to be 15 minutes long. We're going to try something new. One of the things that we're seeing in the numbers is that you are all coming in to watch it, and over the course of time, whatever it is, you're starting to fall off as the thing goes on, and you're missing some of the great things that we have on there. And we know that you think they're great because when we clip them into small clips and put them up on our website, you're watching them and sharing them at great numbers. So therefore, what we're going to try to do is just take it to the show and condense it into 15 minutes. We are not, I'm going to tell you this again, we are not going to sit there tonight and talk about the news going back and forth. We did that today. We're going to bring you special reports. Harlan's going to do a report tonight on North Korea's military capabilities. We are giving you a report tonight from Scarlett, who is Vladimir Putin. I am going to give you I'm going to give critique tonight on a man who I believe is very dangerous in Congress. I'm going to save it. He's from the Democrat side, and I'll lay out for you why that is in a monologue. And we will read some of your emails. So it's going to be at about 8:30. Again, it will last for 15 minutes, and that's that. If we could have the chat up by then, we will do it. All right. Aside from that, go to camera 5 for a second, please. Okay, camera 5, you will see that we have started to take your gifts. Remember, I told you this whole side is going to be all about you folks. That red wall or orange wall, I don't even know the color, but behind the television, that is going to be filled with the names of our donors. I think that's going to be to me in the next 2 weeks. And then over here to the right, you see we've started to take some of the gifts that we've received from you. We are sprinkling them all over the room. I think there's another one over here. We have somebody who gave us a gift back here. If you go to camera, I think you could see it in camera 3. If you go to camera 3, you'll see in the back there, a woman made us a beautiful American flag with the Twin Towers behind it. There are things here. Harlan, pull out of the dish. Somebody sent us a pocket constitution. I mean, we've got your stuff sprinkled all throughout. We want to say thank you for that. And that is that. I think I got it all. For those of you who continue to donate to us, we appreciate it. DennisMichaelLynch.com/donate. We need to start to, we're now in our next phase of getting things. So anybody who can help, we appreciate it. What else? The app. If you don't have the app, I know I was reading some people today saying you're having problems watching this show on the app. It is not the app. Real quick, what happens is we have 2 boxes. One box feeds out to YouTube. One box feeds out to Facebook. YouTube is what we have on our website and what we have on our app. And I think, by the way, for you, note to you, I think the box for the YouTube is faulty. I want to return it and get another one because we're only getting the problems from YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, we're not getting them from Facebook, and I think it's the box. We're getting sound problems, whatever, but it's not the app. So that's that. All right, as always, if you have any comments about today's show, I don't want to hear. You ready? Please. I'm not even reading them anymore. I don't want to hear about my desk. All right? I know.
There's still a lot of those.
I know. You don't read the email on the back end.
Oh, I was looking at the comments.
You're looking at the comments.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the emails I got today were just unbelievable. I mean, I was to the point of where I was like, why am I doing this? Seriously. Yeah. Some of the emails that we're receiving are so evil. What? And at the end, the killer is, it's you suck, this sucks, this is ugly, Harlan needs to get fucking, Harlan needs to lose his glasses, you know, you're an egomaniac. I mean, the stuff that they say is so brutal.
But then how do they end it?
Love you guys. I mean, and I'm just reading this stuff, and I'm like, I had one guy says, you're horrible, I'm horrible, you don't know what you're doing, right? All this different stuff. Go back to making films. You guys are going to be out in 6 months. Just trying to help you out.
Oh, okay, thanks.
I mean, just the stuff I'm getting is unbelievable. You know? So yeah, we know that the sound isn't going all that great. You don't think we know that? Like we do, you know, we know that. Another guy said, you got to go get films for all these different windows, whatever. You know, listen, we're in a living room. We purposely did this. You know, we purposely did this. We don't want to be in a plastic studio. No. You know, on sunny days, it's going to look sunny. On rainy days, it's going to be rainy. You know, that's what we decided to do. That's what we decided to do, and we're not changing course on it. No. You know? So when we ask you what it is that you like and what you don't like, please don't waste the time about the desk or about which pillow. Oh, would you do me a favor? Would you give me that pillow? It doesn't show in the cameras. We got a pillow from a woman who took old silk ties and put them all together. Very cool, right? So that kind of stuff, you know, we're not interested anymore. We don't take it as constructive criticism anymore. We take it almost as insults. Yeah. So this is what we went with. You know, this is what we did. This is what we put our money into and our time. We take a lot of pride in it. Not everything's perfect, but you know what? I've been in studios before. You've been in studios all the time. If you were to see what some of these studios look like when you pan the camera, please. Yeah. You know, we put a lot of time into this. What we're asking you for is the content. What do you like? Yeah. Do you like Dick Morris being on for an hour, or is it too long? Do you like hearing about the immigration stuff on Friday or the movies on Friday, or is it too long? Do you like Harlan on the Hill segment? If you don't, why don't you like it? Not because the thing behind Harlan makes you dizzy. Yeah. Do you like the content? Are you finding worthiness in this stuff? Do you like Scarlett's? Somebody actually told me, I think I posted this one today, don't tell Scarlett she's beautiful or she looks great when you say hello to her. Why? I don't know. That's crazy. You know, don't say that she looks beautiful unless I'm willing to tell you that you look beautiful. You know what? I'm not telling you that. I mean, well, I don't deserve it. No. You can tell me to eat a salad. Scarlett deserves it. Yeah. Scarlett deserves it. Let me tell you something. Scarlett is one of the most beautiful, stunning women I have ever seen. I mean, she's beautiful. Why am I not going to tell her you look beautiful today? That's a compliment. That's a compliment. I'm going to tell her she looks beautiful every single day. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. Ask Scarlett if she hates it when we tell her that she looks beautiful. Hey, what's wrong? What is that? Sexist of me? I don't know. I mean, what's wrong with it? Come on. Call a spade a spade. I'm calling a spade. I read these emails yesterday. I was like, what is this? Well, you know, it's to be expected. It's not. It's not to be expected. It's expected to be by the left. It's a 0.5% that's watching. Maybe it is. Maybe it is liberal trolls. I don't know. All I know is the minority. We'll take constructive criticism all day long. We had what? John Rowland yesterday. What did I tell you? I would call up John Rowland every day after I was on television and
Yeah.
say, tell me what I did wrong. You know?
Yes.
And John wouldn't say something to the extent of, well, I would have liked it better if your hair was parted a little less.
Yeah, right.
Or if you, if you would have tweezed your eyebrows a little more. Oh, by the way, Dennis, eat a salad. No, what he would say was, you know what, I like the way you told that story.
Right.
But don't apologize for telling that story. You know, like that's what he would do. And that's how I got better.
Yeah.
Not by, the only time that John ever commented on something outside the realm of the content was he said to me, I think you should be wearing a shirt and tie. And I said, I think you're wrong. I'm not comfortable in a shirt and tie. If I'm in a shirt and tie, I feel stuffy, and I feel like my neck's all crunched up, and I feel like I can't move. I don't want to be in it. And you know what he said? Well, if you don't feel comfortable wearing a shirt and tie, don't wear one.
Yep.
That was it.
Well, you know what? I bet that criticism will stop if we stop addressing it.
You think so?
Yeah, let's try it.
I think you're wrong.
Let's see.
Somebody told me yesterday, I'm telling you, I get a long list.
Yeah.
A long list. In fact, I banned this person. I banned this person. And I rarely.
Yes.
I mean, you got to do something that really pissed me off
Over the top.
to ban me.
Yep.
But I found it so rude. I found it so rude, and people were commenting on it, that I rid of it. Somebody said that, and this is about you.
Yeah.
Somebody said that you need to buy a new wardrobe.
Oh, really?
Now, meanwhile, I take that a little personally because I feel that you and I dress a lot alike.
We do! yeah, similar.
You know what I mean?
So,
and I'm like, wait a second.
it was directed at both of us in a way. I mean,
and I'm like, he needs to buy a new wardrobe. I mean, just like, you know what? And they just went on this rant, and it was really nasty. It was nasty.
Yeah.
And I just, you know what? This is my house. And I don't mind the criticisms.
yeah.
But when it gets nasty,
Yeah.
I don't need you here.
Yep.
And you don't belong here.
Yeah.
Because I would never, ever write that out about somebody else publicly. You know, it's just like, you know what? See you later.
Yeah.
I can't have it. Then somebody else, I'm telling you, I got bombarded with emails. Somebody else yelled that, somebody else said that I was rude and because I said to Tim yesterday, don't show his face yet.
Oh.
So let me be very direct with you on something. This is an unwritten law. When you're in the news business, we had this at Newsmax, they have it at Fox. they have it
Everywhere.
Everywhere. When you're doing a live show, the pressure just mounts. And that is because as the time starts to go like this, you have no time for mistakes. Now, we got away with the Dick Morris thing today because it's the web.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because we have such loyal followers, they'll stick around for the most part. But if this was broadcast television,
It'd be ridiculous.
so what happens is, and we all know this, everybody knows this here, don't take it personally.
No.
So if I say to Harlan, fix the camera, he may come back and say to me, fix it yourself.
I would not do that. I would not do that. No.
Instead, you'll say it to Tim.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, Tim. Sorry, Tim.
And then we'll just throw things at Tim. Fix it! It's not for real. It's not for real. As soon as it's done, we're like,
It's
all right,
okay.
you know, what
It's back
fattening
to normal.
foods you want to eat? Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it works.
It is.
It's the way it works.
It is.
You know?
It is.
You just gotta relax. I'm sorry, Tim. Yeah, he forgives me. Forgives me. All right.
All right.
Anyway.
We got to go tape the other show.
Yeah, we gotta tape another show now. What? This camera? Yeah, we need to fix these cameras. I don't know what to look at anymore. All right, it's hot in here, man. Time to switch over from heat to AC.
Yeah.
Or maybe just unrobe.
We could do the show outside. I'm telling you I could do it.
The shot outside?
I'm sure. I'm telling you.
All right. So we're going to tell Harlan that he has until Friday.
Friday show.
Friday's walk and talk. We're going to do outside.
It'll be done.
Yep. All right. Friday's walk and talk going to be outside. Who's our guest on Friday? We should do it with a guest.
Is it an in-person? Maybe that would be the best.
Tomorrow is General D's. Thursday I'm not here in the walk and talk. You're earlier on.
Yeah.
Have you thought of anybody for a guest?
I thought we already had.
Well, I could reach out to Michael Cutler.
Oh, well, then I can save him for when you're here because you guys.
Immigration?
Yeah.
Yeah. So who do you want to have?
We'll talk about it.
All right. So
I'll come up with somebody. Yeah.
Oh, you'll do it on your own.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to you about it. I don't want to give it away now because I don't know if they'll come. So
Oh,
we'll see.
okay. And then Friday, who are we gonna have? Well, I guess it will depend on the news. It would be good if we had somebody.
If somebody was here, that'd be better.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
Yeah. Who do we have? Should we bring in Janet?
That would be great.
That'd be good. Her light boxes came in. Janet, your light boxes came in.
That would be great. Yeah. You know what?
Maybe
If
Friday,
you could
Janet?
make it, that'd be that'd be awesome.
All right. All right, that's enough. Almost 2-hour show. That goes against the grain. All right.
All right.
Until later. And for those of you who don't come around later, those of you who aren't going to come around anymore because we don't like your emails. May God bless you. May God bless our troops, the president, and these United States. And may God bless whoever it is that created that pink chair for Dick Morris. Adios, amigos. He's taking us. This is new.
Yeah.
He's actually taking us up the stairs.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the deal on the pink chair thing. All right. And again, we apologize for this. This is why when I had Harlan will remember this. When I had, and Dick will remember it as well. Dick can hear me as he's climbing up the stairs right now. My rule was, I'm back on Newsmax.
Yep.
No Skype.
No Skype.
Yeah, and it would drive the producers, it would drive Newsmax, it would drive people crazy, and it would drive guests crazy too, because I had the #1 show by not even a close #2.
Sure.
And I said, no, you can't come on the show if you don't do Skype because it's crap.
Yeah.
It's crap. But Dick had a pretty good Skype, and so that's why I used to give in.
His video is very good. It's
Plus,
his
he
audio.
also, so what he's doing right now is he's going upstairs to his pink chair.
It's infamous.
Yeah, the pink chair. I mean, it looks like a thing. What was that? What's that? What's that? Is that SpongeBob?
There it is.
There is that the pink
We
chair?
got the
He's got the
pink
pink
chair.
chair and the pink pillow.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to make him wear a pink chair, wear a pink tie in the pink chair. And he used to do it for me every time. And I told him if I ever saw him wear the pink tie on somebody else's show, he wouldn't be allowed to be on. And because he's a good guy, he always kept to his word. And only I got the pink tie and the pink chair. Yeah, what the hell is the cartoon with the big pink chair? I can't remember what it is.
I don't know.
All right, hopefully this works.
All right, we'll see.
Count it up, Dick.
As long as it's not the Pink Panther.
No, it's not the Pink Panther. Count
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, it's so bad. Should we have him turn off and start up again?
Let's try that
Hey,
as
Dick,
a last
just
step.
make sure, I want you to turn off and start up again. But before you do that, I want you to make sure you have all your other programs closed out on your computer. Ha! He went into the house. Now I don't have to give him peace of my mind. You know I love you, Dick. That's... All right, so we're seeing that Dick has... Hey, Dick, how many of the books on that bookshelf are actually written by you?
About half of them.
About All right, here we
Do you
go.
want me to repeat what I was saying earlier?
Yeah, the only thing is we need his volume up a little bit.
Yeah, let's bump him up.
Give us a second, Dick. Dick, give me another 10 count.
Well, since you can only have every other word, 2, 4, 6, 10.
Why? Oh, he's still not strong.
Hello, hello? The volume good?
No, we're still getting a real
Let's
weak
take him up
signal.
on our end.
This is, you know what? This is where I think you should turn off the computer and start again.
Okay.
Tim, is he all the way up?
Hold on, don't hang up yet, Dick.
Let's turn it up.
But where's his volume right now? It's all the way up. Just give me a 5 count again, Dick.
1, 2, 3, 5.
Yeah, see, we didn't hear 4. We didn't hear 3 and 4, right?
Okay.
Dick, is that usually where you are right now? Is that usually a strong spot? Because that's not where.
Usually it's fine.
Yeah.
Usually it's fine.
Where's the pink chair, pal? Where's the pink chair room?
That's in Florida.
Because that was always strong.
Right.
All right. Maybe we do it one more time, Dick. Why don't you turn off the computer, start it back up again? Maybe that's what it is, because it hasn't improved any.
Well, let me in fact go to the chair.
Okay, go ahead. He'll go to the pink chair. All right, and we'll tell the story of the pink chair.
Okay.
All right. So wait, he's actually.
Okay, try it now.
Oh, much better.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
That's better. Whatever you did, that worked.
Good.
All right, so let's go. Yeah, there it is. So wait, Victoria said Blues Clues. There was they had Blues Clues. I used to have to always give that to my kids. Blues Clues, Blues Clues. All right, so anyway, Dick, from your Blues Clues, red chair, orange chair, pink chair, whichever one it looks on somebody's computer, give us a clue, a blue clue, about what it is that is going on right now in the White House with President Trump. What's he saying? What's he telling Tillerson? What's going on there?
Well, I think you have two different levels going on. The formal level with the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor and the Joint Chiefs on meeting with the President to assess the situation. And I think that's going as normal. But then there's also what's called the kitchen cabinet. Steve Bannon, Jared Kushner, the woman Kellyanne Conway, and the three of them are probably meeting with Trump fairly continuously to talk about the politics of it. And I think the thing that we're missing here is this is the ultimate wag the dog. I think that Trump was sincerely trying to knock out their chemical facilities. I think Trump was sincerely angry about the attack. But I think the other point is that for a year, the Democrats and liberals have been peddling this ridiculous narrative that Trump is in Putin's pocket and the deal was cut and he would let Putin run all over the world as long as Putin arranged for him to be elected president. And both sides of that are crazy. Putin had very little to do with his election.
But they say, I'm looking at Syria and about this need to get out Assad, and I feel like we're back in Iraq all over again, like we tried to get out Saddam Hussein. And look what happened there. Yeah, okay, we took him out, but Iraq toppled, and ISIS, now we have ISIS. If we take out Assad, who's going to take over that place? And then you have the other people, like myself, who say, you know what, America needs to be back. America needs to show its leadership. America needs to show its strength, because I believe in the Reagan way of, strength through power, and through, to a certain degree, making sure that people respect us, and don't screw around with us. Dick, I want you to respond to that two ways. How would you respond to the Trump supporters on both cases? And number two is, if you were sitting in that White House right now with President Trump, what would you be advising him?
Well, I think that the Trump supporters were concerned about our going abroad and trying to run the world. John Quincy Adams once said, we don't go abroad in search of dragons to destroy. And I think that that's a very good policy. And I think it's very important that Trump keep these attacks in Syria on punishing them and deterring them and preventing them, if possible, from using chemical weapons, rather than an effort at regime change to get rid of Assad. It's a touchy line, but we have to stay well side of our line. And for example, we did not do a decapitation strike. There was no attempt to kill Assad in that strike. And if we had wanted regime change, that would be something we would do. Now, in terms of Syria, I think it's a non-issue. You just don't go in there. You just go in there when you need to over inflection. And Trump, I'm sure, promised nothing. And now with those bombs, Trump is proving that is false. And I think that narrative is very important to Trump, but I think you can't dismiss it as one of the reasons for the attack.
When you look at North Korea, just to change gears for 1 second, when you look at North Korea, right now we have naval ships headed that way because there is a concern that on the 15th, North Korea will start to test more missiles. Explain to us, Dick, the level of concern that North Korea presents for the United States.
It's an intense concern, Dennis, because not so much because of their intercontinental missiles. Those are burning, and it'll be a while before they have enough of them to make a difference or to be sure of their accuracy. But a good artillery cannon can shoot a nuclear missile into Seoul from North Korean territory. Seoul is right abuts the border between North and South Korea. And Seoul has a extended population, I think, of over 10 million people. And that would be just a fiasco. And that really is the blackmail that that the North Korean leadership has.
So, you know, a lot of people listening this morning to different programs as I'm coming into work, Dick, there are a lot of Trump supporters who say, I didn't sign up for this. You know, you told me we weren't going to go into these places. It was supposed to be America first. And they're concerned. I mean, if you take North Korea, whether you take Syria, I mean, you could go back to Syria if you like, because I think it's a better example.